They have to record.
Yeah.
Can we see the waiting room or if there is anything key?
I think they are accepting the attendees. You can look in the participants panel. There are attendees there.
Oh, are they not in already?
एक्सेप्ट कर दे इसे यहाँ पे अटेंडेंस में आ रहा है, एक्सेप्ट करना पड़ेगा। मैं कर रहा हूँ।
ये सारे attendees ही हैं. I think they are already a part.
But they have to be, I think, allowed inside the.
सर आपको होस्ट बना रखा, आप एक्सेप्ट करोगे सर।
बट यहाँ पर अलाउ टू टॉक का ऑप्शन है, एक्सेप्ट करने का नहीं है।
नहीं, अटेंडी पे क्लिक करें सर, उधर ऊपर पार्टिसिपेंट में एक पैनलिस्ट आ रहा है, साइड में अटेंडेंस आ रहा है,
हाँ
उस पे क्लिक करेंगे तो वो सारे अटेंडी आएंगे, उसको अलाउ करना पड़ेगा।
नहीं, अलाउ इज
Allow
इन
का तो
टॉप
option
लिखा
ही
हुआ है।
या आप मेरे को एक बार होस्ट कर दो तो मैं कर देता हूँ।
ओके
यस आईएम उदयपुर को एक बार होस्ट कर दो।
आप ही होस्ट हैं आप।
हाँ ये रहा, या अलाउ करना है आप सर, मैं कर रहा हूँ ना सबको अलाउ।
So we'll just wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll start. There's still people joining. Moumita, are you able to see my?
Yes, I can. I can see yours.
Okay. Okay, so let me start. I welcome you all to this webinar. This is an information sharing session on the PhD application process in the finance and accounting area at IIM Udaipur. I have with me Professor Moumita Tiwari, who is also an assistant professor in the finance and accounting area at IMU. We will be taking you through a presentation which covers almost all of the important information that you might need. and then we'll open for a Q&A session for the remaining time that we have in the webinar. So, the first thing that we wanted to talk about is the research ranking that IIMU enjoys. IIMU is in the top 4 for research in India. This is based on the UTD 24 list. So, this is just to show that, the institute takes it very seriously. And coming here, you can be assured that you will transform into a scholar who will be, respected in the academic field. So what are the objectives of our program? The first objective is to prepare all of you for roles in academia and policy research. The second objective is to focus both on finance as well as accounting. And third objective, which is related to this, is we want to facilitate research in the area that you are interested in. So as much as is possible, we encourage diversity in ideas, and depending on our expertise, we work very closely with the PhD scholars to help them research in the areas that they are interested in. Then, in terms of faculty expertise in the finance area, we have faculty colleagues working in asset pricing, corporate finance, climate finance, ESG, fintech, high frequency trades and markets. At the same time, in the accounting area, we have people working in financial accounting, accounting and audit quality, reporting, disclosures, including on climate and sustainability related issues, regulations, management accounting, auditing. Again, climate and ESG related issues are also important here, which is covered somewhat here, but that's also an area of focus. The faculty is research active. They have, as you can see, diverse interests, and they are all PhD from top research institutes in India. So they have a good background which can help you all become good researchers. In terms of what else we do, the first thing that we have is conference grants for international travels. And I'll cover some more information about this in coming slides. Then we also have international visitors on campus who keep coming and who you can actually discuss your ideas as well as your execution of those ideas with, to get hands-on feedback on what you're working. And this helps you develop your ideas further to take them to the final stage in a research process, which is to the publications. And the focus here is, the aspiration here is to target EBDC A-star journals, UTD journals, and FT50 journals. The new addition this year is a semester abroad program, which is a merit-based program for students who have cleared their comprehensive examinations. The two students every year as of now will be funded to go abroad to a research intense institution where we'll have kind of MOUs signed with that institution, and there you can learn both the so you can get exposed to, again, how globally research is done. So this is how the PhD program looks like. It's over year 1 to year 5. The first 2 years are coursework. Mostly your coursework involves courses which are, PhD courses. They are not courses which are with MBA students, and I'll take you through the kind of courses that we do here. Then in year 3, you will have, so before you start the year 3, you'll have comprehensive examinations, which is kind of a culmination of your coursework. It is 2 parts. The first is a written examination, which is done by the area. The second is evaluation of a second year research project, which is a research project that you do under the guidance of an advisor. So this is evaluated so as to see your research potential and how much you have learned overall in the first 2 years in terms of research process. And if you clear both these parts, then you get to the thesis stage, where you nominate a tech chair, form a tech, which is thesis advisory committee, and you also do some teaching assistance work while completing your thesis. In the year 4, you have your thesis proposal defense, and at the end of the year 5, somewhere around that time, you'll have your thesis defense. So that's how the PhD will look overall. These are the courses offered. there are only two MBA courses that we encourage students. Actually, they are required courses. So we require our students to take financial accounting and corporate finance. These are just to give you a foundational overview of both of these subjects. Then these are the core courses that we have in the program: empirical asset pricing, seminar in corporate finance, research in accounting, in empirical market microstructure, and time series analysis. So if you think about it, it's again a wide gamut of research which is covered here, and you could easily pick one of these to be your areas of expertise or interest. And within these, we'll have multiple sessions which will deal with streams. So, for example, in research and accounting, we deal with debt, we deal with capital markets, we also deal with management accounting. So we also deal with social media disclosures. Similarly, I think Moumita can talk about corporate finance. Moumita, if you would like to.
So the broad idea that we have in corporate finance related seminar courses that to understand why is financing important, what are the basic theories behind why a company chooses a type of financing, the demand supply side of it, the broad theories around corporate finance. Then we get to governance. And we also sometimes, pick up specific topics. For example, right now, one of our students, she's interested in working in entrepreneurial finance. And so we have brought in a flavor of entrepreneurial finance in the seminar course. So it depends also on the interests of the students, and we try to kind of accommodate their interests so that it is helpful for them in the next year to kind of develop broad ideas for their research work. And yeah, so that's broadly something that we do in corporate. We can always discuss if there is any specific questions during the Q&A session.
Sure. Thanks, Moumita. Then, let me also talk about the cross-functional courses that we offer. So there's probability and statistics, then there's econometric methods 1 and 2. Most of us here in the group are empiricists, so we deal with secondary data. And for that, we need to, learn econometrics. So we have two courses covering that. Then we have microeconomics, stochastic processes, and then there's a course on causal inference, which is the state of art techniques which are being used today to answer questions which are important for academia, so and for policy. So that's the overall course lineup that we have. So if you see, there are only two courses which are MBA courses which you also have to take if you enroll here, but all other courses are PhD specific. This is how the financial assistance looks like. So you have there's no fee. So tuition fee is completely waived. Then there's a stipend. So this is again recently revised. So in the first 2 years, you get 37,000 per month. On clearing your comprehensive exam, it's 40,000. And then on proposal defense, after proposal defense, you get 44,000. You also have to keep in mind that Udaipur is a smaller city, so cost of living is lower in comparison to some of the bigger cities in which the IIMs are situated, and this also reflects that. Then there's a conference grant, so you have a national conference grant of rupees 1 lakh over 5 years, and there's an international conference grant of rupees 2 lakh over 5 years. These are mostly dependent on when you have your papers accepted in these conferences for presentation. There's an additional international conference grant of rupees 2 lakh if you have an acceptance in an FT50 journal with the faculty. So this is the top up on the international conference grant that you have. There are other research related grants. So when you join, there's a one-time allowance for buying a laptop of up to rupees 50,000. Then there's a research fund of up to rupees 1,50,000 to procure data which you might need in your research work, or for hiring assistants if need be and if your tech advisor approves. Then there's a contingency grant of rupees 50,000 in the first year of the program and rupees 25,000 from the second year onwards. This is for your stationery, etc. Then there is an accommodation which is provided by default, which is when if you are If you are single, then it's in campus. But if you are married, we don't have married student accommodations as of now. But what we do is we give a rental subsidy of rupees 10,000 per month to married students. But there's a married hostel under planning for construction. And as I covered earlier, there's an opportunity to participate in a fully funded semester abroad program. The outlay is dependent completely on wherever you are going. There are allocations being made. So 2 of these students every year will be sent for these programs abroad. I'll get to the Q&A in the end, but if you have any questions here, please feel free to write them. So now, given this overall discussion on what the program does for you all, this is now going to cover the application. Maybe we can stop here and ask for Q&A for a little bit and then go on to this part. Yeah, so yeah, if there are any questions, the first question is from Suresh. Are all the PhD courses common for students who opt for accounting track and finance track? The answer is yes. It's a finance and accounting PhD that we are offering currently. So it's not 2 different tracks, it's just 1 track. But overall, what happens is once you have done the coursework, then you can pick the type of research work that you want to do, and then you can show to the job market that you are either an accounting PhD or a finance PhD. And this also depends on the kind of teaching interests that you have, so that also you could develop over time. Moumita, if you would like to add anything to this.
Just one bit that because there are so many topics which are kind of overlapping between accounting and finance, and also a lot of theoretical concepts or the basic theories that we study for the research work is also, a lot overlap between the 2 areas. So it is therefore not completely, we don't have a Chinese wall between the 2 areas. And even in practice, in practice and research also, if you go out and see, a lot of research work is overlapping. People collaborate in the finance accounting areas together, and therefore, with that thought, it kind of is a good opportunity for someone who's coming to the area to be exposed to both tracks, and then you also can choose which specific track you want to kind of get to at a later stage. Suresh, is your question answered, or is there anything else? I don't know if you can unmute yourself and ask questions or not. You can.
I think you can. Yeah. If you have a supplementary question, please.
Yes, Suresh. So if your question is answered, good. But if not, then just unmute and maybe ask, or else we'll then move to the next question.
This was okay. I'm just. Is it okay? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. So this was, because international universities have, completely different programs, right? Accounting and finance. So on that basis, if one has a background in, say, primarily inclined towards accounting, then, it might get, the concern is it might get a bit difficult to cope with the finance courses, given that the inherently finance, I'm not a full-fledged researcher, but from what I could gather from interaction with people, it is very heavily quantitative. So that kind of foundational quantitative courses itself may take, to come up to speed up to the doctoral coping with the PhD level courses in finance area might take a while to acclimatize. So how has that been factored into, or how does that work?
So, some of the coursework here is already kind of rigorous enough to take you up to the ante for being prepared for the quantitative methods required, stochastic probabilities, those things. So the basics we take care of. We don't leave you hanging, and we just not kind of we are kind enough to take care of things that so that you're prepared. You'll not be scared of any of the finance courses in case you have a very core accounting background. And similarly, if you're if you're a core finance, so you'll have exposure to accounting courses also. And also internationally, as well as like me and Bhavya, we can also give some more insights into this, because So my background was more into finance, but I moved into accounting PhD. Bhavya was more into accounting. He did accounting as such. So for both of us, we found that the transition, or for Bhavya, not that much of transition, but specialization for me, the transition was not very difficult. Both of us have done our PhD from ISB. It follows again the 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 basic guidelines which any of the top 20 US universities kind of follow. And even there, what we were required to do is, we were required to give comprehensive exam, which means that we had to take all the finance courses. We had to write a comprehensive exam for the finance in the first year, which both me and Bhavya did. And in the second year, we were required to do or the core accounting and then write a core accounting comprehensive as well. So it depends a lot of time from university to university. Some have, even when they have very focused track, a lot of time it is encouraged that you kind of know both the sides because you are at times better off, knowing it all and then you know how to position yourself. However, we do understand that when people have very specific interest in mind, such as asset pricing, they find accounting maybe not that attractive and some of the courses. So if as of now we have not had someone who is like so focused that I just do asset pricing. We do have someone who has now come in who is doing entrepreneurial finance, as we said, and we're trying to modify and take into consideration their interests and other things. So long answer to your short question that we understand that there are requirements and we take care of them, and we are also flexible enough to kind of try to help everyone do their work in the area that they are more interested in. Sorry, Bhavya, if you want to add something afterwards.
Yeah, no, I think you have kind of covered everything. But yeah, just to reiterate, maybe that finance and accounting research, especially, is not that different. If you think about it, the underlying economics or so racial economics or behavioral economics that we use, it's kind of similar, and it's still the manager who is making the decisions. So in that sense, they're not very different. And while I understand that, your question is coming from a perspective where it's a very quantitative finance kind of a PhD, and you might be not interested in going to those depths. But yeah, so as Moumita mentioned, this has been the case overall in a lot of good PhD programs that accounting students are encouraged to do some of the finance courses, and you know finance PhD students are encouraged to do accounting courses. Given the size of the program that we have, currently we don't have separate tracks. You have to do all of it. But we do, as Moumita mentioned, give some weight to the preferences that you have. Dharmadev?
So yes, we hope we've answered your things.
So the next question is by Dharmadev. What are the chances of being selected as a candidate without any publication? So I'll get to the application criteria in a bit and answer it there. I think it will get answered when we get to that stage. So just give us a few minutes. Then there's an anonymous attendee who's asking, 2 students every year will be from only finance and accounting group or from both from the batch. So this 2 students is for the batch, and not even the batch actually. You have to compete across years also. So it's 2 students every year. And who are these students fighting for this? All of these students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th year. This is just a new beginning for us in terms of this semester abroad scholarship. So it might take some time to settle down in terms of who goes out and who actually can avail this, is able to avail this, is a question that we also will look forward to get an answer once you all start applying for this. Then there are 2 more questions on the eligibility. So if there are no more questions for the part that we have covered till now, then let me start with the eligibility criteria. Dharmadev, you had raised your hand, so if your question is related to publications only, then I'll cover it later. But if you have questions related to what we have covered so far, please feel free to ask. Okay, so let's move on to eligibility criteria. So the first eligibility criteria, you all know, you have to be either a bachelor's with 4-year, 8-semester kind of a system, or you have to have 3-year bachelor's plus 2-year master's. And overall requirement is you have 60% in the 60% marks, or you could be a professional chartered accountant, CWS, CS, again with a bachelor's degree in which you have at least 60% marks, or you are coming from 4-year, 8-semester bachelor's degree with equivalent of 75% marks in aggregate or its equivalent grade on whatever grade is being followed. So these are the basic criteria. And then we need a valid CAT, GMAT, GRE or NET score. The validities are mentioned here. So if you gave a CAT in 22, 23, both of those are valid. Similarly, if you gave GMAT in any of the prior 5 years, that is valid. GRE for 5 years is valid, and NET GRF is valid for 3 years. For more detailed, requirements, you could always see the stuff that's mentioned on the website, and you could also write directly to the PhD admissions office. But there was a specific question on NET GRF. So if one doesn't have score, can they apply? They have work experience for 4-5 years as RA and TA, then this be considered. So this is an eligibility criteria. If you don't have at least so if you don't have one of these, then your application will not be considered. So the answer to your question is that you can apply only if you have one of these scores. Then on eligibility is appearing in CAT must for all streams of research. This is by Rohit. So Rohit, you need not appear for CAT. There are these other options, GMAT, GRE, NAT, GRF. Any of those would do, but we need some kind of a standardized score. So you have these 4 options with you, which you can pick and choose. So this is the first part, the eligibility criteria. If you have questions, again, keep typing. I'll move on to the next one, which is application requirements. So there are a lot of requirements which are mentioned on the webpage. Again, you should take a look there. But one of the specific requirements that I wanted to touch upon today is the SOP, the statement of purpose. So what you have to do in that is you should address the following questions in not more than 500 words. First is, why do you want to pursue a PhD and in the area, and why a PhD from IIMU? You have to state your research interests. Now, these are not binding. You just have to state what you are interested in today. This can change over time. When you come in the program, you might have new interests which you want to pursue and that we won't stop you from doing. You have to just give us a hint of what you are interested in and how deeply you think about that. So you have to explain what research you would want to do, why would you want to do that research, and what are your future research and career goals. Overall, we are trying to ask, we are seeking a story from you in terms of what do you want to be after you get a PhD from IIMU, and what do you want to do when you are doing this PhD. So this is an additional requirement which is different from the prior years. That's why I wanted to spend a little bit of time here. So just note the following additional requirement. This is not a question answer thing. So you don't have to answer these in like bullet points. You have to share with us a compelling story. And you have to clearly explain your purpose for applying for a PhD in finance and accounting area. And you should keep in mind, this is an academic position. So plagiarism is something that we take really seriously. Your SOP will go through a check. And if you plagiarize, if you copy, then your application will be rejected by default. Then finally, the selection process. So we have a shortlisting round, which will be dependent on your research or work experience, your academic performance, then letters of recommendation and statement of purpose. And once you clear the shortlisting round, only those who have cleared the shortlisting round are invited for the in-person interview at the campus, where we will judge the research aptitude, domain knowledge, motivation, your preparedness for the PhD program, your career plans and communication skills. So that's how this will work. So now to answer the question that was raised by Dharmdel, you see here that we don't require a publication as such. There's a publication that counts in your research experience, which is a part of the shortlisting criteria. So you obviously get some points for it, but that's not a requirement. Then the cutoff of CAT to get shortlisted, there's no cutoff as such. This is a shortlisting process. So it will depend on, an overall assessment of all of these things which we have mentioned here. And academic performance is one of those things. We need a standardized test score to judge whether your academic performance is good enough to consider you to be a part of the program. So this is about the application and selection process. If you have any questions, please type them out. I've already answered a few which were on the chat. Moumita, if you want to share any other details about the process.
Just that bit that I mean, if somebody has a publication research experience, then the expectation is that they will also know about the process more than the others. So in a way, it's helpful because then the conversation can be more research oriented, but then expectations also kind of are higher from such candidates. You can unmute. If anybody has a question, you can even unmute and then ask question.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi,
I'm
Abhi.
Abhi.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm having a one question. That is with regard to the professional experience. So, what is the minimum time period that is being considered as a work experience?
Minimum, Bhavya, wait, sorry, there is no minimum, right?
Yeah, there's no minimum experience requirement again. There's again just a shortlisting criteria. So let's say there's an Abhi one which has done 6 months in the industry. There's an Abhi two who has done 8 months, and everything else is exactly the same. Then the person who has 8 months of work experience, if it is relevant, gets some extra points when we are overall considering the application.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
And one more thing is there. Suppose if I have filled the form and submitted it on the 9th of Feb, and after that my publication is coming into up and it's getting published in any of a journal. So will that be considered in the selection process or not? Because I haven't filled this thing in an application form because the publication came after the last date of a submission of a form. So will that be considered or not?
So it will definitely be considered. All you need to do is send an email to the admissions team. The email IDs will be mentioned towards the end of this presentation, and we'll sensitize them that there might be these mails which will be coming in, so they will let us know that you have shared that information.
And one more thing in this case would be suggested is that in your CV, please highlight any research work that you have done. If you have papers in progress, if you're working papers, or if you have submitted it somewhere, so you can show your papers as under review. You can even show the stages if it is in R&R somewhere, which is revise and resubmit. Any of these stages, so whatever stage your papers are, and you would like us to know about that, we would please highlight it in the application, and that would help in the shortlisting process. And also, if at all we think those are not enough and there is more information required, post shortlisting, we can always also get back to you regarding those details. I hope that answers.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you.
Sure. So the next question is by Suresh. Publication requirement prior to submission of the PhD dissertation. So this is related to the process which we were talking about earlier, the overall PhD process. There is no requirement of a publication during the PhD. Now, we believe that, as a PhD candidate, you will know about the job market requirements and you will take responsibility to fulfill those requirements, as the job market requires. So, for example, if you know that, job market considers publications important, then we expect that you work towards them. It's not us who are going to put a minimum number of publications that you need to do to get a PhD. It's totally dependent on your thesis advisory committee and chair, what they exactly want to consider as a good enough outcome of your thesis. It can be a publication if they want that to happen, but that's not a requirement at the program level. Moumita, if you want to add?
Yeah, as of now, it is kind of more open market driven forces that decides how good your PhD is. And that's the philosophy that we are following. And therefore, the job market, which geography you want to apply for in your job market, and which colleges in India you want to do, you want to also apply in Europe, US. So it will all depend on those kind of market forces. And it is very difficult, in general, as a philosophy, we believe that it is very difficult to say that, having a publication is important, rather than we would like to see the progress is right and the path is right. So your kind of direction is important at this stage. So that's the overall philosophy with which we look at the PhD designation for the students.
So that answers your question. Dharmadev?
Suresh, anything else?
Yeah, no, that was just a concern that, for example, it's okay, you've answered it. Because if, for example, if there is a mandatory publication requirement prior to submission of thesis and say a paper has been submitted and it's still in R&R, then, it shouldn't hold back job, that's fine. I think you've answered it.
Yeah, it's more job market driven.
Right, that's fine.
It's more
because in case
completely.
there could be some dynamic there, something going wrong somewhere. So that was a concern.
Yeah, and also every student is different, every job market is different, every job market year is also different. So it is so difficult to have these, at least that is what we believe as a group, that it is so difficult to.
That's a very good, that's a good thing, because if, in fact, certain state universities and, they have all kinds of publication requirements. Anyway, so yeah, thank you. That's answered.
Just to, give you a little bit more perspective into this. So our expectations from the PhD candidates are really, really high. You know that UTD list is what we are considering. So we always want you to aim higher. Obviously, there are specific requirements of the job market that we'll give credence to and importance to. But you need to know that in every research paper that any of our faculty colleagues and we work on, we spend a lot of time in developing the idea and executing the research and make it, really good quality. So that's the objective always. Where it goes ultimately is something very different that we don't have a control over, is what we believe as a group. But in terms of quality of work, there's no compromise.
Also, there is this philosophy that, every next batch that we are taking, and it kind of shows also, every next set of people that we have recruited overall, they are not, I think it's also the general evolution cycle, but they are a little better than the previous one, because in terms of experience, and also there is more advice from the cohort that they get, seniors that they get. And some of you who would want to know more about, these details of what the research culture is, or how, what is the kind of support system available, we would encourage you to also kind of get in touch with the current PhD students, what kind of work they are doing, what kind of support system they have, because we can beat our own trumpet, but they are the ones who would really kind of give you the real advice and what has been their experience. So any of you, and it's not just here, but in general, if you are kind of advised that if you're applying to some place, try to understand what the culture is. And a good way of doing that is to get in touch with the current set of people, or Here it's a young program, so we will have a few students graduating. Otherwise, we would have said the alumni as well. But yeah, do get in touch with them, and they'll also help you understand some of these nuances in a little better manner.
The next question is by Gopal. So Dharmadev, you had raised your hand. So if you have a question, please unmute yourself and ask.
Very good afternoon, professors.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So I just want to know that what are the points that the admission committee pays attention to in the SOP, and how much influence the dissertation work in the masters in the interview? Thank you.
Yeah. So Moumita, do you want to take this?
Sorry, sir.
So in terms of SOP, Dhandev, I mean, it's one of the shortlisting criteria, but as such, we would really like to know you better. That's the idea. And at a shortlisting stage, it is difficult otherwise to understand, because numbers are out there are these things out there, but SOP kind of is a communication of your research intent with, with the team which is looking to kind of hire you. Therefore, we take it very seriously. We read every SOP, we compare SOPs. We would want to see why is it that you're interested in joining our team. As we said, that we really kind of, as a philosophy, believe that we would like to give a nurturing environment to the PhD students. So similarly, whether you are also as a candidate reciprocating those kind of philosophies or not. So that's the idea, and we take it very, very seriously. The second was your master's thesis. So any research work for that matter. So whether it is your master level thesis or your bachelor's level thesis, any so if there is a way you can kind of communicate that you know a little bit of research, you understand about research, that's always helpful, because that shows that you have been serious in your in your preparation for applying towards a PhD. But that does not mean that people who have never done research before or have not gone through the have not, I mean, have a thesis which is maybe maybe which is very different from what they want to kind of do, different areas. We are completely close to any of those applications. The idea is that you try to it's a cost benefit analysis. It's a pros and cons that you understand, and that way you try to get the best idea about a person's research potential, perseverance, whether they can kind of, sail through the 5 years, because PhD is a long journey. It is not just a 1 year degree program or 2 years. It's a long journey, 5 years. So the idea is to understand the candidate in and out. So I don't know how much we don't have. I mean, to be frank, it's very difficult to point out saying that if you have a master's thesis and somebody who doesn't have. So for example, again, Dharamdev A and Dharamdev B. So one has a master's thesis, one doesn't have. Very difficult to kind of say that who will get a better, who will have a better chance. It depends on a lot of things per se. So yeah. So Bhavya, if you have anything to add.
No, I think you covered it all. So I know that it's a it's kind of a no answer to your question, Dharmadev, but that's how it is. I think you would agree, Moumita, that this is not an answer, but this is just
it's very difficult to give also, kind of give you an answer to that, because every year we see applications and there's so much of variety in applications that it is very difficult to give a standard kind of. And sometimes it's good because we want to keep an open mind to multiple people with different backgrounds, different capabilities, because ultimately we also want a diversified set of student, different ideas. That's how new research questions are also kind of then thought of. So then hopefully that gives you some comfort that we are flexible enough to look at different applications.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Actually, I have a JRF, but I heard from some of the people that I have a JRF.
Okay.
JRF.
Okay. Good. Okay.
So, but I I heard from some people that uh, you know still if you have a JRF, but they considered the candidate who have some publication, particularly in the IIM or IITs. So that made me underconfidence to uh, apply in a IIM. So I just want to clear.
It's very difficult. So you see, there are so many no, there are so many different the factors here, which I am, which faculty, who sometimes it's also, if something is to happen, it will happen kind of thing. So do send us your applications. We would love to look at different profiles of candidates. And the idea is not to reject people, but the idea is to try to understand where, there are things that match between the faculty, the kind of philosophy we follow, and the candidates' overall way of thinking, and, as I said, the aptitude towards research.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, um, some friends of mine also, they are from the state university, so they are also feel underconfident that how a candidate from the state university will compete uh, or feel confidence in a national institute. So,
What do you mean by state universities, Ramdev?
ma'am,
What do you mean by state university, national university? I'm not.
so many. I am from a state university, particularly for regional language. So that's the point. Many of
Okay.
my friends
Okay.
are. Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
yeah, no, don't feel underconfident. I mean, sometimes you have to find the right people, and I mean, try speaking. I mean, if you have doubts, you can always write to faculty at different places. If you know their work, you can kind of look at their work, try to understand those work, and if you have some ideas, or if you have research work that you are interested in, or you have done something. So it's about whether you can exhibit your enthusiasm for interest. So at least here, I don't know about other places, or at least a few places that we know of, or where our friends and colleagues are there. So it doesn't matter where have you done your, let's say, an undergrad from, or I mean, it matters obviously. I won't say it doesn't matter in the sense that it's not as if you have done it from a state university versus a different place. There is there is a bias against anyone is the overall idea. So I don't come from any fancy colleges. My undergrads are like, simple places. So uh, it's completely okay. Don't get underconfident is the only thing. When you're applying, be confident of whatever your credentials are. And try to show the best that you have in your CV. So yeah, that would be the only 2 cents that we would have.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So next question is from Argappan G. So can we JRF in any subject or only in management? So what we have mentioned is we want net, not JRF. So net scores are required. Obviously, if you have a JRF, that's an added bonus. But net scores in any related subject. So I think not in any subject is what I'm interpreting that as. You should have net JRF in a related subject. Then the next question is, if you could please share a few topics on which research has been done recently. So Rohit, we'll give you examples. We can give you those examples, but maybe we'll take this up after we have covered the presentation. If you're not able to cover this, then you will find the recent papers and recent research mentioned on our faculty pages, as well as on the student profiles if they have. If they have a recent paper that they're working on. But we can get to this again soon. I had given you some glimpses of all of the areas that we work in these slides, but we can get to that later once again. Then there are two very specific questions on, eligibility and validity of your scores, etc. I think so. I'm not the right person to interpret the rules that have already been stated there. If you have a particular doubt on those issues, you can directly write to the PhD admissions team, and they'll be able to help you better. So I'm not the authority to interpret what is valid and what is not. Once the rules have been set, they'll give you the right answer to that question. Govinda, I think this answers your question. The statement that I had made earlier, if you have only qualified NET and you do not have JRF, you can still apply for the PhD. It's NET or JRF score that we need, not JRF, cleared. Rohit, then your question is the program supportive to in-service aspirants also, or does one has to join it on full-time basis? As of now, we only have a full-time PhD in IIMU. You have to join full-time. That's what the structure is currently. We don't have an executive PhD as of now. Then Abhi, your question, is there any possibility to complete PhD before 5 years of planned showcase in 4 years? Yes, there is. If you really perform well, if you have enough which the job market demands, then you can definitely complete it in 4 years. We don't have a minimum number of years that you have to spend after you have cleared the comprehensive examination. It's completely dependent on the student to get done with the PhD as soon as they want to and they have the capability to. Moumita?
Yeah, just two points here. One is, in general, we have seen, and this is our experience as well as what we have seen in the market and from different places, that to have a polished dissertation thesis, it takes time, and people who kind of do it in a hurry, 3 or 4 years. I mean, you keep hearing some of them are really smart and they kind of do a good job at it, but most of these are not that great quality, and end of the day we would not want you to go out with a subpar quality of work. And that's the idea with which it is communicated that it's a 5-year program, and that's philosophy with a lot of now the research focus. Schools are Indian schools are following these 5-year PhD. Otherwise you have the model in Europe, some of them where you have a 3-year model also, but there also the idea is that you already know research, you already have a dissertation or a proposal in place, and most of the candidates that we have seen here, it's not, at least we don't see ideas at such mature stages that they can easily kind of do it in 3 or 4 years. And second, I would seriously advise you to please speak to a few people who are doing PhD either from here or some of the IIMs or other places, competitive places where you want to kind of apply, to understand this notion of the 4 year, 5 years, how easy, how hard, because that will kind of help you have the right time frames in mind also, because as I said, it's a long journey. It's not an easy journey, and a lot of perseverance is required. So timeline wise, whenever there are doubts, please, it would be best that you speak to a few people who are doing PhD, that what amount of work is required, and but the idea is overall we would want people to come in with the idea that it will be a 5-year journey.
So that's why if you see the financial support is also for 5 years. Beyond that, there's no financial support as such. So 5 is what we assume it would take. But yeah, as Moumita mentioned, there are always exceptions, and we are open to those pleasant surprises. Suresh, I'll take up on your offer to take your question after the presentation on the clarification on PhD courses. So let me now move on to the next part of the presentation. So these are the important dates. These are again mentioned on the website. The application closes on February 9th, which is what you have to focus on currently. Then we'll announce the shortlist by March 8th, and the interview date. We don't have a research aptitude test. We only have an interview stage, so that will happen sometime between April 1st to 5th. The dates will be communicated to you in the due course. So again, this is something that you can, as Moumita mentioned, discuss with some of your friends who are already in the program or connections who are in the program. You get a lot of benefits by staying on campus. And so those benefits are extended to you if you are a part of the PhD program. These are the unique features. The first is that it's a 300 acres campus. The first picture that I had put in the presentation, and I can take you to that once again. It's of the campus itself. So it's a very beautiful campus and very inviting campus. It will be a good 5 years that you'll spend, in the Aravalli ranges. So that's one of the unique features. The second is obviously you get access to Udaipur, which is a really beautiful city. And I don't want to start because I'm from Udaipur, and if I start, I'll not stop talking about Udaipur. But maybe Moumita can vouch for that, and there are others who can vouch for that when you contact them offline. Then you also have potential for research collaboration with industry partners. So recently, the finance and accounting area has inaugurated the JM Financial Center for Financial Research, which is essentially a bridge between the research which is happening within the academic community in IMU and the policymakers and practitioners on the other hand. So the Finance Center is essentially a bridge. So you can use all of the resources available there and the links that they can provide you with to improve the kind of research that you pursue and improve the network that you have. I know, Abhi, you have raised your hands. Just give me a minute and I will get to you. Then the other unique feature, as I talked about, was the PhD level courses, which are specific to the PhD program. In a lot of programs that you'll see around you, PhD students have to do MBA courses in their coursework, which we think is not the right way to, equip you all to pursue research which can be published in scholarly journals which are of great repute. And so we have this set of courses designed so that you pursue these courses to equip yourself to do good research. And these are the contact details that I was trying to mention earlier. The PhD admissions email ID that you all would know, and this is the phone number that you can use between Monday and Friday 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. to get your issues resolved. So now I can, so first Suresh's question, which was pending. So
Yeah.
Actually, let me take Abhi's question first. Abhi?
Yeah. You actually addressed it in partially. That was about the number of credits. You mentioned that it's 60 credits, right? Across the 2 years.
Yes, so it depends a lot on the kind of courses that you take. The minimum requirement from the PhD in finance and accounting area for this batch that we had last year was 52 credits. And so you can take more than those. And when I said 60, it was kind of including some of the other things that you could pick up. Let's say 2 other courses that you want to do in the MBA program.
Okay. So
just to add to your knowledge base.
Yeah, could you kindly just give a brief about what that would entail in terms of the workload? I mean, in terms of the classroom sessions and how does that credit weightage work?
So every 30 hours course is 4 credits. So if you think about it, you have 360 full credit courses as a requirement. No, actually 13 courses, right? So 390 courses over 2 years.
Sorry, come again, please.
390 classroom hours over 2 years.
Okay. And how this research projects of the first year, second year, those are also considered as part of the credits, or they are additional? How does it work?
They are additional, so they are not part of credits. They are essentially your milestones that you have to clear to get into the next stage of the program. Okay.
And what would be the, I mean, for example, the other faculty member just mentioned that there could be some course on, what was that? Entrepreneurial finance, right? Which was floated specifically for some students. So,
no, so let me just clarify a little bit. That is not a separate course. It's a module in an existing course.
Okay.
Yeah. So those kind of customizations are possible, and that depends totally on the faculty who's taking the course.
So those 10 courses which were mentioned in the slide were the 10 courses which are compulsory, right, for across the PhD program in this area.
Yes.
Right. And some brief about the nature of the, I mean, all that 30 hours would be in classroom based or in PhD level courses, or how does it work? It's based on self-study and, I mean, paper writing just by oneself, or is that entire period of 30 hours for a 4 credit course Is a classroom like in the traditional postgraduate taught courses? Does it
Yeah,
operate the
so
same way?
so when I
Does it
say
operate the
30 hours is the credit, that is the amount of classroom hours that you are spending.
Okay.
Beyond that, you
Okay.
obviously have to
Oh,
spend a lot of
okay.
time in,
So
getting yourself
that
materials.
is for the classroom hours. Okay. Okay. Fine.
30 classroom hours.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
30 hours the minimum, the maximum is.
Yeah.
No,
So
and
you hear those stories, right? When you get into discussions on research, sometimes the classroom hours are fixed at 2 for that day, but they extend to even 9 or 10 because you are into that discussion.
and final thing on the coursework, how does the assessment typically work for such courses? Is it, I mean, it obviously, given that it consists of a series of, I mean, a set of research papers which need to be read, would it consist of the typical, written exams at the end of every course, or is it paper based? I mean, how does it work, assessments?
So again, it's totally dependent on the instructor. There are a few courses in which you will have exams, written exams, but in other courses you might have a proposal. In a few other courses, you might also have presentations as a part of your evaluation component. So it completely depends on the course instructor and the kind of course that is being taught. So for example, if you think about probability and statistics, there it is going to be mostly examination and assignments. But let's say, for example, research in accounting, that is a course that I teach in which I have write-ups, presentation, and class participation as the three components.
Okay.
There can be other components such as, coding, writing referee reports, critiquing papers, etc. So that it is completely dependent on the faculty and how they design the component of evaluations.
Yeah, thank you. It addresses it. Just a thought. I mean, possibly from if there's a similar session done again, that could include one slide on the different, all these approaches which are mentioned. Just a listing of the various approaches.
Sure. So we might not do that this year, but for next year, we keep that in mind. Thank you.
Yes.
Abhi, you had a question.
Yeah, so thank you for clearing that out of a 4 year, completing a program in a 4 year. Actually, was curious about that because heard from many of people from IITs, not from IIMs, but from IITs. Yeah. The second one is that what is specific quality or capability or a skill that IIM you look in a candidate for a PhD program? Means what is specific quality that uh, faculty looks during the interview session or during the whole application process?
So I think I'll take this first, Mohammed, and then can add on to it. This is what we are looking for. If you really think about it, the statement of purpose, the questions that we have set out, they are essentially these questions where we are asking you questions about yourself and how you take or how you think about the research journey that you want to pursue. So if you have clarity on that, then maybe that's the quality that we are looking for. But again, the question that you're asking, Abhi, is very, very difficult to answer. It's dependent on a lot of factors. Especially we are a lot of people in the area, so everyone has their own way of thinking about these issues. There's no set criteria of who the best candidate is, but when we get the applications and when we sit on those applications and think about, who could be a good researcher at the end of the day, that's how maybe we decide. So you're asking really difficult questions, Mamita.
Yes, Abhi, we wish we could give you an answer. This is very
Totally understand
difficult.
that clarity of the thoughts and the passion and the enthusiasm for the research would be a
Energy,
essential
yeah,
quality.
energy. It's as I said, it's a 5 years journey. So you really require, and
Yes, yes.
it's a very sometimes very depressing journey. Also, research is tough. We you have to, and also how much homework you have done for how serious you are, and whether that is reflected in your application. Therefore, when they said that, if you're from a state university, that is okay. If you have done more homework than somebody who is from, let's say, a top tier, let's say, national institute, but you show more rigor, more vigor in your application. You have done more homework, you've read papers, or you have kind of, you've seen what research is about, you know what publication process is, or if you've spoken to people, you know things that also counts, and that comes out in your application. And believe me, it does. I mean, sometimes we are cynical and we believe that, it's just an Excel sheet where we put some numbers. It's not like that. We really look at applications very closely because we work with the PhD students very, very closely. I mean, they are like your colleagues, and you want to nurture them, you want to mentor them, and we will look at all aspects of the applications, Abhi, and therefore very difficult to give a quantitative answer. But give the best shot that you can in your application, which reflects that you are serious and you are enthusiastic about research, and you're also enthusiastic about, being at IIM for the next 5 years is the idea.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
So there's one more question. How many seats available in finance accounting batch for PhD? Again, Khushbu, there's no answer to this question. The number of seats are defined at the program level, and the seats are allocated after all of the processes completed. But on average, we have taken 1-2 students every year. So you could maybe take that as a benchmark. Again, I'm not giving a final answer on this because this is not in my hand or in Moumita's hand. This is something which is taken up at the program level. So I think we have answered all of the questions that we could answer. If there's anything else that you would like to ask, please unmute yourself. We'll wait here for 5 more minutes and then we'll close the session. So I promise that I'll show you the first picture again. So yeah, this is the campus. So when you send your emails to the PhD admissions team, and if they think that we are the right person to answer the questions, they'll forward it to us, rest assured. So just write to them whatever questions you might have after the session is closed, and questions which you couldn't ask. Argappan?
Hello, this is Alagappan. You had mentioned that you also accept JRF for applying. So I just wanted to know whether that JRF has to be specifically in management, or will it also be okay if it's in any other subject?
So again, the criteria that's mentioned is, it has to be in a related field, related to accounting and finance. Now that's a broad enough bracket. So I really don't have a particular answer to your question as in what is something that we can consider and something that we won't, but it has to be related to finance or accounting. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Argappan, why don't you just, if you already have these scores or things, maybe you can just drop a line to the admissions team that this is the area. Because some of these things are very technical and they have a better hang of the things. You can just drop a line, and if there are any concerns, they'll kind of get back to you.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Moumita, shall we close?
There is one more question here.
What's that?
Net in management or commerce would be considered. I think
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
the
this is,
same.
yeah.
So, if no one has any other questions, we'll close the session.
If there are no more questions, can I just put in a small comment or a
Yeah,
thought?
sure.
Right.
Please.
This was, I also happened to attend another admission webinar of another IIM, and this concern which was expressed about state universities.
Right.
Perhaps, I mean, this is going slightly beyond the scope of this webinar, but perhaps either each IIM individually or collectively, if they could kind of conduct maybe a certificate program or a MOOC or something of that nature, because there is a transition between the manner in which the programs are designed, the manner in which they are delivered in the state universities versus this bridge. It will help to bridge that gap. There is a I hope I'm getting
So that's a very good point, Suresh. And in fact, I mean,
think of it's just a feedback or whatever. I don't know.
no, that's a great point, and we all want more participation in these PhD programs. So some initiatives are already been taken. So and Bangalore does this very nice pre-doc program, and
So that's a full-fledged this one. I'm just something which can be done even virtually. Something which gives an awareness and orientation about the because most of the state universities, for whatever reason, right or wrong, they look at everything in black and white, right? This kind of some of the responses here, it depends kind of answers aren't even comprehensible to some people there. So
some sessions which are which can help them understand is what you're trying to.
Yeah, perhaps some kind of a I mean, it could be a certificate or a MOOC or something which gives across functional areas, which gives a kind of an orientation to
So
to research.
when you say orient, why don't you maybe just drop us a line saying that what do you mean by orientation? Because what we are understanding as orientation and what you have, if you have already kind of had this experience with someone and if you know about this, so if you can just drop us a few
No,
points because
there is this apprehension in that state university, graduates won't be able to, cope with research because it's a very fundamentally different way of doing things. So some kind of an orientation. I mean, like the closest which comes to mind, of course, that's a little more elaborate. Like in the European universities, they have some program called an MRes, Master of Research. That would probably be too much too elaborate. But something in the nature of a transitory program, which kind of it could be even offered as a certificate program if possible, or now on MOOCs or something of that kind. Just
that's a good suggestion. We'll keep it in mind whether, I mean, at least we can, even if we don't have the resources or things right now, we can always suggest this to people who have the resources and who are kind of looking at ways in which to contribute back, and so we will certainly keep it in mind.
Yeah, MOOCs, for example, the government of India has the SWAYAM platform, so they won't really be charging anything separate. So it's really just an audiovisual facility which is just requires a video. I mean, this is I wouldn't be, you probably all you faculty and so on would be much better. I mean, my concern was that from the state universities there's a certain way in which the curriculums are designed, the pedagogy, the assessments, everything happen in a certain linear form. So to make the transition towards a higher quality program, there is a little bit of apprehension among certain people, even though they may have the innate capabilities. But there is all these concerns which exist. So some kind of a brief transition from that stage towards this. So I'm just putting it across generally, right?
Again, thanks for the comment, Suresh, and it's a good suggestion. There's one thing which one from state university could actually do, which already exists in the system, which is join the faculty as a research assistant. I know that's again a high bar to pass, and there are issues related to that too, and that doesn't completely solve the issues that you are raising. And obviously, a MOOC is a better idea to tell them what exactly is required. But if you become an RA, or for that matter, the program that Moumita was referring to, the pre-doc program, you said MRes. Pre-doc is actually shorter than the MRes program. It's more accessible for a lot of people because there are the number of seats are higher. And in that sense, that's a pre-doc program is a certificate program. In every IIM, you'll find that there are positions for research assistants. And there, if you show capability and if you show intent, then the faculty members are really looking forward to having good assistants who can streamline their research processes and help them in improving the outputs. So that's another way. I'm just suggesting if somebody were to ask you, maybe you can give that answer. That till the time comes where we have these MOOCs and orientation programs, doing a pre-doc somewhere or a research assistantship with professors in a good institute might be the way to go forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for attending the webinar. Thank you, Moumita.
Thank you. Thanks, Bhavya. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take care.
Take care. Looking forward to your applications.
Yes, we are looking forward to the applications. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bhavya can log off, right?
Yeah,
You don't want me to be around.
yeah, I'll just log off.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thanks.